Hello and welcome back. Another episode in 2026, and we are joined by Lauren once again. She was replaced last week by a bearded Englishman, but don't fear, don't fear. Like she's down bad after the season the Florida Gators had, but she didn't want to retire from the podcast just yet. Lauren, unfortunately for you, you did say many weeks ago that you do have a particular disliking for other Florida schools. And what do we end up with this year other than a Florida school in the college football playoff final?
Yeah, and
Perfectly written.
it's even worse.
Yeah, you hate Florida State, hate Miami. I'm seeing a reoccurring theme here.
Oh well.
And as always, Sammo, how you doing, man?
All good, mate. All good. Still keeping the beard, so we have another big bearded Englishman on the show. So
exactly.
try and keep it going.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if you guys ever check out the NFL podcast, but they have four guys, and all four guys. I know Nina's going to be watching this back, but all four guys have like extremely thick beards. So it's just like it's a row of heavily bearded men who love American football. But in any case, sorry.
Said I can't help with
that. The big news storyline is obviously the college football playoff final is right around the corner. By the time we record the next episode next week, we will have a conclusion drawn on the 2025-26 season. Indiana and University of Miami, obviously Indiana continuing that Cinderella story, absolutely destroying Oregon in very impressive form. And equally destroying Alabama. I mean, like, whatever questions there were about Indiana during the regular season, they went undefeated. They beat Ohio State in the final game of the regular season. They walk into the playoffs, wipe Alabama by 35 points, and then they wipe the Oregon Ducks equally by, putting up 50 plus and Mendoza scoring, I believe, 5 touchdowns. It's just, I mean, at this point, is there any doubt that they will just not finish off this storyline next week?
No, I think that they're absolutely going to. They're going to make history. I turned into an Indiana fan.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a Hoosier until the end of the season. And because I also just like my boy Fernando, I told you he was going to win the Heisman. I told you he was going to beat Ohio State. I was right both times. So now I just want to see him finish this out. Like it's question that if they win, like this could literally be, one of the best college football teams ever, like going down in history. First team to ever get 16-0. Mendoza is the first quarterback to ever win, or the first player ever for Indiana to win the Heisman. Imagine all of that happening in one season. Like that's legendary.
Yeah, I can't see it going any other way. It is going to be a fairy tale for Indiana, and it will continue to be a fairy tale for Mendoza as well, because we can all see what's going to happen in that NFL draft as well with him, especially with certain other QBs not wanting to get involved in that. So, it's going to be a good 2026, I'd say, for Mendoza and Indiana for sure.
Yeah, well, Lauren, you mentioned there the best team of all time. I'm still backing the 2019 LSU roster against this Indiana team. I just think, you did mention 16-0 and stuff, but like Burrow, that receiving core, like that LSU team, I just think they were better. And Joe Burrow is, in my opinion, was a much better college football quarterback, and I think he's having a great pro career as well. But I don't know. It's a good conversation, though, weighing up who actually is the better college football overall. Like the best college team of all time, Indiana are probably up there at this point.
I mean, they have to be. Like, if you just look at their story in general, I mean, if you look at what Kirk Cignetti's done with his program, in 1 year, he was in the playoffs. Second year, he's in the national championship with, like we said, like Fernando Mendoza, like what he has done with what Cignetti's done with this team and what he's been able to help Mendoza do as a quarterback as he's developed and how far he's taken this team. Like there's no question to me. I saw this today and it was kind of, I mean, I already knew that they slaughtered Alabama. That was fantastic. Didn't even let them score. That's hilarious. And then to go up against Oregon, they finally let them score a little bit with 56-22, but that was it. They scored a total of 94 points in those two games, an absolute slaughtering. And while Miami did win they beat Ole Miss and they beat all of the teams that they needed to get here. Like, they were closer games. They weren't like, oh my gosh, obviously Miami's taking this, just like you knew that Indiana was going to win in the first half after the Alabama and Oregon game. Miami, you didn't know that. It was a much harder fought game for them to pull off the win, for them to get where they are. I'm not going to discredit how hard they've worked. And this would be super cool for them because it's the first time they've been in a conference game like this since 2003. They haven't won a national championship in 25 years, since 2001. So that'd be an awesome storyline for them. But like, imagine that we get to be alive when we're watching history take place if they win this game, when they win this game. Knock on wood. So Mendoza wins the Heisman. Cignetti is coach for 2 years, pulls out a national championship in 2 years. Like, that's just so awesome to me. And they're 8.5 point favorites. The over-under is 47.5, I think. Like, I don't really see a world where they don't win. I feel like 8.5 is generous.
Lauren, I just want to say the fact that you're wearing Indiana merch is just insane to me. Like, you've been the diehard, like, one team, podcaster, like diehard Gator. You you are a Gator, literally bleeding blue, and you've had the audacity to come on to this podcast, live recording podcast, and wear the merch of another school.
It's different conferences. They'll never play unless both teams are in the playoff at the same time. Like, these two schools never intersect. I feel like it's okay. And also, it's just me supporting my boy Mendoza. Like, I love him. Have you watched his interviews? Like, he's just like, yes, it's so funny because people say how he's like the most positive, nice guy in the world. And then like you pan the camera to Cignetti, who they're winning 56-22. And he's just doesn't matter what they do. He will not smile. And like having that coach and player pair up, I think is really funny. But this is me just supporting Mendoza.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, speaking of his post-game interviews, he said something quite interesting at the weekend after the Oregon game. He said that Indiana have no 5-star recruits in their roster. So I did a bit of digging on this because I thought it was just a bit of an interesting point because, like for context, 5 stars are what high school players get going into college. So if you've got 5 stars, you're regarded as an elite prospect, probably going to one of the bigger schools. So for context, like the big schools, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, they'll generally get a good few 5-star prospects, to help them win college games. But Indiana actually have 0 5-star, which I think just actually makes their storyline so much better. Every national champion usually will have maybe 10 or 15 or, up towards 20 anyway in a good year. For Indiana to have 0, it just makes it actually more magical, I think.
I think it shows you a bit about the coaching, doesn't it? I think if you look at some of the coaching, I think when it comes down to it, a lot of the time you see this in most sports. It's not necessarily the underdog. It's the coaching. It's the setup there of actually maybe even the scouting and the recruitment going, actually, what's the system? What do you want to look for? Obviously, we've spoken about it previously where Indiana have probably been like a QB away. And it's like, how is it that you can get an elite QB to come and upset the apple cart, as it were, and obviously get the best out of the players that are on this roster? They've managed to do that with Mendoza, right? And then they've managed to obviously like really just elevate everyone with that. It's not just the personality we just spoke about, but he's just a really good football player at the end of the day, and he's become a bit of a leader with that. So I think it's a testament to the program as a whole, because they've actually built something. It's not just been about, okay, well, let's just try and attract obviously all the best 5-star recruits and just hope it sticks, because that seems to be the sort of lazy way out, I suppose, when it comes to a lot of these teams. But yeah, Indiana have gone and done it, and I think it puts them in a better place going in to years in the future, because they will know they don't necessarily need the 5-star recruits. Yes, I'm sure they will go and get a few now, like going forward, but they won't need it. And maybe, just maybe, it might just shift it a little bit with a few other teams.
Yeah, I think one of the most, not to bring up Florida, but John Summerall, our new coach, said on his first day that he thinks the most important thing when it comes to players is retention over getting, a 5-star here, a 5-star there. And Kirk Herbstreit said this after a game a few weeks ago. And he was like, having a big team of 5 stars and 4 stars put together doesn't make them a team. That just makes them all of these players playing for the same school. Versus what Indiana has right now is, like we're saying, it's like it's not a big group of 5 stars. You have, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, people who didn't know 5 stars on that team, but they're playing as a team. They're playing as one. They want to win together. They've only had 5 players out of that whole team enter the transfer portal. Every other school has way more. Every other school has way more than 5. Even like Ohio State, LSU, any of them have more than 5 players. Indiana has 5 who have gone out, 15 who are coming in right now. They only have 3 4 stars and 12 3 stars so far, but they are paying attention to wanting to play as one, win as one, develop and get better as one team, rather than bringing in 15 5 stars who are, playing for themselves. Essentially, they can transfer 4 times and just be trying to move themselves to a better school, which I understand, but being able to develop as one team and being able to win as one team, like Indiana is proving to do, I feel like is so much more important. And that's why they're in the national championship.
Yeah, but I mean, like, is it feasible? Okay, so obviously Mendoza's going to be out of the picture next year. Like, is it feasible for Indiana to build on this? Like, obviously they can use this profile now, but traditionally speaking, they're not one of the big players in attracting those big names or coming out of high school or whatever. Does this give Indiana a platform? Because we've seen in the past schools like Boise State, for example, like a school that kind of has a good one-off run, and then they kind of like disappear back into irrelevance a little bit. Can Indiana capitalize on this season? Keeping Kurtz-Needy would be huge, but like, can they solidify themselves as a major player year in, year out, even when they lose players like Mendoza and the natural cycle of a college roster?
I think so. I think you got to keep the coach. You have to keep the coach. I think everything we've discussed over the last few weeks is vital now. With all the money that's involved, everyone jumping ship to move around, and that is one of the biggest things. And Lauren just said it: stability. You have to have stability now, and it's all in the head coach, because that's where the players want to go. Now, if you are a 3-4-star recruit, you'll want a coach that is not going to suddenly just bury you and bring in the 5-star. You're also looking for a coach and other coaching members of that person's staff to develop you. This is the program to do it. That's what they're doing. They're putting that in the window right now. We will come and develop you and put you in the best place possible. 1, for championships, and 2, for your long-term dream, which is obviously on a professional career down the line as well, which they're obviously going to be able to do. The big question mark around Indiana right now, and one of the biggest things that they probably didn't want to happen, was Mike Tomlin leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Kurtz-Needy is a big Steeler and he's from Pittsburgh, and they've already put his name in the hat as a potential replacement. You don't want that to happen. I think if that happens, then I go along with your agenda, as it were, that they will. It could just be one and done. Because I think if he's out of there, that's it. You can forget it.
I don't think that he'll leave, especially if they win. I feel like only 2 years out of school, you're there for 2 years, you win a national championship, you leave. I don't know he could be the next most winningest coach if he stayed there. I mean, it's only been 2 years, and yeah, Fernando's leaving next year, but his little brother, little Alberto Mendoza, is coming up right behind him. He's only a redshirt freshman. It probably runs in the family, and he's been learning under his brother and learning under Cignetti this entire time. He played this past game. He's played the Alabama game, played the Oregon game. He got to get a ton of experience this season, or last season more so, because he was redshirt freshman. But he's had touchdowns. He's played in games with Indiana, and I feel like Indiana fans and Cignetti and the rest of their team would probably feel really secure the fact that it's Mendoza's little bro, the same kid who they've had on this team with them. And again, getting to learn underneath his big brother. And they've done all of the same things thus far in football and in school and everything else. And he's only a redshirt freshman right now. So he has so much time. He'll have this whole off season to get even better. Like, I don't think that they'll decline after this. I feel like if not, I think they'll still have a winning season next season with Alberto as their quarterback. And then you give a season after that, and he's at the level that Fernando's at. I don't see a decline coming within the next at least 5 years.
It'll be interesting to see. So let's show a little bit of love to the other side of this final matchup, which might be tough for you to do, Lauren. We're going to have to just give credit where it's due. Miami have had a very impressive run. They've beaten 3 teams ranked above them. There were even question marks about including Miami in the kind of final playoff ranking bracket, but they beat A&M, holding them to only 3 points. They then beat Ohio State, and then a very interesting matchup against Ole Miss, who had their own incredible storyline with the whole Lane Kiffin situation. But Miami, right from the from the beginning of the playoff bracket, they've defeated 3 teams ranked higher than them. But this might be a test too much for this Miami team, although they do have a lot of momentum right now.
They definitely have a lot of momentum, and I will, give credit because Malachi Tony is absolutely remarkable, and he is literally 18 years old. He's a child, and I saw something that, this is just a fact. I'm not, putting down Miami or Carson, well, a little bit, but Malachi Tony was 11 years old when Carson Beck had his first year of college football. He has been playing college football for 7 years. I just think it's kind of funny how, oh yeah. He was in the same class as, his name is blanking on me. He went to Alabama.
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and Bryce Young. He played with all those guys. He was in the same class as all of them. And he is now going to be playing in the national championship. Awesome. Good for him after leaving Georgia, whatever. But he looks so good because of an 18-year-old. Someone who was a child when he started playing college football. It's just I think that's a fun fact. But their running back, Mark Fletcher Jr., pretty much carries this offense along with Malachi Tony. They lean on him a lot. He averages huge yardage every single game. He definitely keeps it very balanced and helps them with their third downs a lot. I think the way that they'll be able to come out the most successful, whether win or lose, is being able to control the game. Controlling the game is going to be super essential for them. I think that whoever emotionally wins the first quarter is physically winning the first quarter. You will be able to tell how the rest of the game goes in the first quarter of this game, 100%. And as long as they can keep Indiana's really good defense off of Carson Beck, Miami's defense is undeniable. It's really, really good. Heatherman, I think his last name is Heatherman. Their defensive coordinator is so good. He brought in so many good guys off of the transfer portal. There is a reason that their defense has looked the way it has, and these games have looked the way that they have. I think that they fully win their games because of their defense, and I stand by that. Yes, Malachi Tony is awesome. Fletcher's awesome. Carson Beck's there. But their defense is so talented and is the reason that offense and those guys are able to come in and do what they do because of how well their defense is led. And Reuben Bain Jr. is a really big part of that. He's like the X factor of their defense. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do against, Indiana's offense, who's been able to hold back Mendoza from getting sacked pretty much every game.
Yeah, that's the bit. Miami, three sacks per game is the average of where they're at. I was just looking at some of the yardage. 10th nationally on total yards allowed, 4th nationally for points. That's defense wins championships. It's fact. It's always been said, doesn't matter what you're playing. They have to shut this Indiana offense down because they are very much like a steam train. Once they get that momentum, it doesn't matter what defense they go up against at that stage. I think that's where the issues will lie. They're going to need to get them off the field as quickly as possible. They haven't probably been tested in that way. The Ole Miss game, it was a bit of a scrappy to and fro. You looked at sort of who was going to make the stops. Both defenses obviously came out a little bit whilst it was still very much a high scoring but very close game. I think that's what it was going to come down to. I think it makes a good championship game, if that makes sense. I think it makes it so it's not going to be. I don't think it's a blowout because of this defense, but I see edge Indiana, but because of that, I say just that momentum where they're at. But I agree, Lauren. The nerves when it comes to the final, it all changes, right? When it gets to those big moments. But is there I don't know if for both of these teams, if I was going to say who's got the most pressure, it's probably because Indiana, because they've been put on the pedestal a little bit and the light is on them and all eyes are on Indiana. I think Miami need to use that to their advantage a little bit, because I think they're going to come in as the underdog and have probably no pressure. Whereas, in my opinion, neither team should be under pressure, because no one expected them to be there.
There's a different amount for each team, because Indiana has never won a national championship, but then Miami also hasn't won one since 2001. So they're trying to prove, because they're never going to get back that team. That national championship team that Miami was able to have like every other year, it's different football. The game has changed. You're never going to get that team back the same way as you're never going to get Saban's Alabama back. But the reason Miami feels a different level of pressure is because they're trying to prove that this is a new Miami that can do it in a different way. We can still win a national championship, versus Indiana's is that we want to win one for the first time ever. And I thought it was interesting how, like the stat that you just brought up, how they were 10th in, did you say they were 10th in defense? Miami?
Yeah, so for points allowed, 10th for total yards, whether that's passing or rushing nationally.
Well, I see your stat and I raise you one, because Indiana is the number 1 third down offense in the country.
Oh, yeah.
And the margin isn't even close. Like Ohio State is second, but like imagine they're looking up to like an 8-foot guy and Ohio State's like 4'5". Like the margin is not even close. So that's why I'm also really excited. Like, I agree with you. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout game, but to have this really, really talented defense go up against Indiana, who again is number 1 in third downs, it's going to be really close. I'm excited to see, honestly. Like I'm like giddy, and it's also the last game. I'm going to miss college football so much. I feel like it's going to be competitive, and this defense, and like, yes, I was excited with Miami Ole Miss one, because Ole Miss is always a very high scoring team as well, going up against that defense. That was a big storyline of high scoring offense versus tough defense. But now it's number 1 third down offense in the country versus tough defense. So it's a little bit different, but not by much. So it's going to be such a storyline either way.
And let me run this one by you guys. So this is basically a question, because I know how it works in the NFL with the Super Bowl and how the dynamic works on the actual day. So the college football playoff final is actually being played in Miami. So you could argue that the University of Miami actually have home field advantage. Now, my question is, does this play a part in the final in particular? So obviously during the regular season, home field plays, as it does for any team. But in a final, it's a bit more, maybe, at least in America, it's a bit more of a corporate event. Like the Super Bowl attracts a lot of celebrities who may not actually support a team. This is, I guess, an open-ended question. Like in Miami, this final is in Miami. It's, the University of Miami are also based in the city. Will this feel like a home final, or is that kind of disregarded because it's the final?
It's totally disregarded, but I'll tell you why. Because if you've watched these games, Indiana fans have taken over the Rose Bowl. They took over the Peach Bowl. If you watch that Oregon game, it was maybe a 95-5 ratio. It was red shirts everywhere. And so the home game advantage, like that edge for Miami, is going to go from like a narrative to, it's going to go from what they think is going to be the narrative to that reality is gone. Because if they keep traveling the way they do and showing out the way they do, the home field edge is completely melted and disrupted, and it's going up with the humidity that is in Miami itself. Because I'll tell you what, too, is Miami fans, the University of Miami plays at Hard Rock Stadium, which is about 45 minutes from the school. So most fans honestly won't even go to the game. I'm sure, obviously, this is different because it's a national championship. But like the Miami fans that were going to these last 3 games are like adults and they're alumni. Fans, their college students don't really go to these games because they're far away. They don't care. It's football, whatever. Like that's not why they went to Miami. And Indiana fans don't care. Students, fans, adults, grandmas, grandpas, children, they're all showing out to these games and making it look like it's a neutral site. It's going to be in Miami at their home field, but Indiana fans keep showing out the way they have for the Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, quite literally every game that they have. It is not going to look like a home field advantage whatsoever. I don't even think it'll be 50-50, to be honest with you. And I've heard that it's been hard for Miami. Like more Indiana fans have bought tickets than Miami fans.
Well, you said it. You said it. History is about to be made now. For those that are attending right now, and those that, like you say, alumni, grandpas, grannies, whatever it may be, that have that love for that, to be part of and see the first time that they win it potentially, you're going to be part of that. You're going to travel, and you can play a massive part of that, as well, as we know with the crowds. But it's not just about being in the games outside. I'd love to be just even on the outside to see what's going on right now, because that is going to be electric, obviously, for that game. And again, we probably need to sort of say that to our listeners that are probably trying to get into college football again in comparison to the NFL. Like, listen, the Super Bowl week is insane. Don't get me wrong. It is absolutely insane. And people are there that don't even have a ticket, but will be creating an atmosphere. I can only imagine what it's like for a college national championship, because of how they party, how they entertain, and how they get ready for a game on a normal day. So I can only imagine it's absolutely carnage, but probably the best bit of fun you could probably imagine. And then you have a game of football on top of it as well, which is just class.
Yeah, I would definitely. It's like, I know how the SEC tailgates, and I know how a few ACC teams will tailgate. I've never seen Miami tailgate for football. Like, I've just never witnessed it. But the big factor here, the big elephant that is Miami, is Miami. They're in Miami. They're going to party no matter what. They're going to party if they lose. They're going to party before the game. They're going to tailgate like they have not tailgated in 25 years, because they haven't. So they're going to bring the whole lot out in orange and green. And if Indiana fans travel the same way that they have been for the last 2 games, which I'd imagine that they're going to, I would expect nothing less. They're going to do the exact same thing, because they are traveling, like you just said, to witness history. So everybody is there for a reason. And I mean, again, like I said, whether Miami wins or loses, I guarantee a party is going to go on no matter what.
Yeah. Well, a lot to look forward to, but as Lauren, you mentioned just there, the college football season is ending on Monday. That's it. The season is over, and everybody will be casting an eye, obviously, forward. There's, the combine, obviously, for players entering the draft, and there's the draft. But at the moment, there's just a lot of other narratives outside of, the actual field. The transfer portal it's just going crazy right now. It's hard to keep up. There are players moving everywhere. It feels, this is something that we've discussed a lot throughout the course of this podcast so far. Like, this NIL, the money, like, should a quarterback enter the draft? Well, why? Because he's getting twice the amount of money, to remain in college. Dante Moore, Oregon quarterback, recently just essentially recommitted. Like, it's kind of like they're signing another 1-year deal. It's like they're a pro athlete. Dylan Raiola going to Oregon. Ty Simpson seems on the fence. Alabama quarterback. I've also heard, $5-6 million. He seems a little bit uncertain about his own future. So, I mean, like, it's just changing the landscape massively. But Dante Moore, who was rumored to be following, the most mock drafts would have said Mendoza 1 and Moore 2. The argument there is, well, why would you declare for the draft if you're going to go play for the Jets or potentially a franchise that ruins your career, when you can just kind of maybe play it safe, pocket another $5 million, how bad, stay in college, system, and then go back and test the draft again next year. It's obviously high risk, high reward. If you return to college and you have a major injury, you have an off season, a bad season, you might, enter next year's draft as a 2nd round or 3rd round prospect. So in that way, you're losing money. But I mean, it's hard to tell if these guys are genuinely interested in football or money, because most of them seem to be wanting to stay in the college system because the money is just better. It's better to be a valuable college player than a rookie on a rookie deal in the league.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are getting so much money. I don't know if you guys have heard of Brendan Sorsby or seen what he's getting. So he is coming from, he actually did 2 years at Indiana. Didn't really play that much. 2 years at Cincinnati. He just signed with Texas Tech, and they are offering him a lifetime 1% royalty of all oil and gas revenue in West Texas, because Texas is big, oil guys.
What?
Yeah. And a one-time payment of $10 million plus $5 million for 1 year. He is making more than a lot of NFL rookies with that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, sure.
You're giving him oil money royalties to pay for your school.
That is so ridiculous.
I think there's a lot of risk. There is a lot of risk for more on that. That deal is absolutely outrageous. There, like, what motivation do you have? 1% of the Texas was that. I mean, I'm sitting here watching Landman every week, right? And I know what goes on with that money, right? When I see that. So listen, that's a mental deal. I'm waiting. Was it Billy Bob Thornton hands him his check every week or something after each game? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I think when I look at the QB situation at the moment with Moore and saying that he's obviously going back to Oregon, I see some issues with that actually for him, because that 2027 draft class for QBs, people have already been highlighting, for someone that plays a lot of fantasy football, right? That QB, that class, and all the draft picks I've been trying to accumulate in my dynasty leagues, right, it's all been aimed at the 2027 sort of draft class. Now you're in danger of, you could have been getting first round pick money, right, this year. If Moore goes for next year, and you just mentioned the list, I had this list written down here. So you got Dante Moore, potentially Arch Manning, Darian Mensah, Julian Saying, Sam Levitt, who's just gone to LSU now, who could have a top season, the Norris Sellers, and obviously Brandon Salisbury, as you just mentioned. Now, all of those eventually could probably play in or declare. Mm-hmm. Not that many teams are going to be wanting a QB at that stage, I don't believe. So, for first round picks anyway. So even if all of them declare, I could see a few of them dropping into second, third, fourth round picks right at that point. Now, if you start to get that impression, do they just stay at college and just carry on with the money? Because, I would with Texas oil money, but I'm just saying for the others that probably only get a packet of like chips or something, you know what I mean, and their normal paycheck, right, are going to want to have to think a few moments as to whether to declare. So I think this is going to have a big knock-on effect for the NFL as well. And I think if Big Brother over there in NFL start having a lot of players not declaring because of certain things like that, I can see some rule changes.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the people that he is making, that Brendan Sorsby specifically is making more than of NFL rookies, and it is a long list of like big names. One of the, like, he makes more than Jackson Dart. His signing bonus alone is more than Jackson Dart is making this year. Whatever, I don't know, but I think I was thinking about this earlier. I think one of the big reasons that so many players like Sorsby and like Dante Moore aren't declaring this year is that not that many NFL teams need a quarterback right now. Like maybe like 3, like I can think like a solid 3, maybe. The rest of them are fine. They are secure. I mean, the Giants have 3 sitting there that they need at drop of a hat. One of them being Jackson Dart. You got Jameis Winston. And they could get John Harbaugh as their next coach. You put all those whatever, a whole different thing. But right now, the NFL is not really in search of these quarterbacks. They need wide receivers. They need defensive linemen. And I think that that's why so many of them are choosing to stay. And like you said, like if they're getting all of this NIL money, why would they go in the draft? And why would they go make less than they are making right now in college? They're a big name in college. Dante Moore, perfect example. You know how much money Nike gives Oregon? There's a reason that their uniforms are so top tier. They have so much money at Oregon. So Dante Moore is getting so much money. Why would he go in the draft? Why would he go to a team that doesn't really need him and he's going to be a backup and make maybe $3 million when Oregon and Nike is giving him what? Maybe 4.5? Like, we don't know. But he would be sitting on the bench making some of that money in an NFL team, NFL locker room, versus getting to be the face of the Oregon Ducks and make a ton of money in NIL, make a ton of money, making a name for himself, getting higher numbers this year, better stats to potentially go in the first round next season. I think it's smart for them to stay and do that. Now, have you guys seen the whole thing about Trinidad Chambliss?
Yes.
And how they denied him? So Trinidad Chambliss is
an extra year of eligibility because he wanted to get his money back, right? He wanted to get more money. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did see.
They rejected him to stay another year after he said he was going to stay at Ole Miss and not go to LSU and join Lane Kiffin, which really pissed Lane Kiffin off. And there was actually like a prank call of them saying that they got him, and then they're like, never mind. And he's like, you guys recorded that? Like, there's a video of him in the car, like, you guys recorded that? Like, what's up with that? But anyway, Trinidad is supposed to stay at Ole Miss, but then they rejected him to stay another year after being injured a few years ago. But then but he has lawyers that are contesting it, so that's not completely set in stone yet. But then I think about Mr. National Championship, 7 years of college football, Carson Beck. You're telling me Trinidad can't have one more year, but we can let Carson Beck play for 7 years when he came to college and his wide receiver was 11 at the time? Why? How does 2 + 2 = 5 there? I don't understand why Trinidad can't have one more year, but we can let Carson Beck play college football for 7 years when the class that he came in with have been in the NFL for 3 years already. They're playing in the NFL playoffs right now. What? Let Trinidad play. He deserves it. His story is also so cool. Being the third string, becoming the first, and taking Ole Miss to the playoffs, taking them to the semifinals. Like, that's incredible. And I think that Pete Golding deserves to have him again. Him and Kiwan together are just so impressive. Such a good duo. And he seems like a really nice kid. Prays with his mom before every game. I think that we should let him stay one more year. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not the lawyer. If I were, question.
But the rules do seem inconsistent because, another example is Diego Pavia, who has just, spent numerous years in college as well. So it's kind of like, well, it's one rule for X, but then a different rule for Y. And they just seem to be implementing it on a, kind of case to case basis. There's not really much consistency there, which is why I think is the major issue. Like, as you said, Beck and other players, like, they set the precedent. So if it's, if they can get away with it, or if they're allowed to do it, well, then like the rule is in place,
Yeah, and their whole thing was like the COVID year was like everybody got like their 5th thing from that, and then players got hurt, and I know that Carson Beck was hurt for a season, but I kept trying to find the answers of like why he was allowed to play for 7 years. But I think Trinidad's whole thing is like from him being hurt, and then they put in that like he just wanted one more year, just give him one more. We let Carson Beck get 3 more. And his thing was that like he hadn't met the qualifications to get that one. But I want to know what those qualifications were where Carson Beck made it 3 times. I'm just curious, asking for a friend. I'd love an answer.
And the Dante Moore decision raises more questions about Dylan Raiola, who, there's been kind of media attention on this guy for years, quarterback for Nebraska. Whenever I kind of saw him in the media, it was always about these kind of Mahomes comparisons. He wears number 15. He kind of copies a lot of Mahomes' kind of pregame rituals and traditions, and he has similarly curly hair and wears the headband, same number, very, similar enough even playing style. So Lauren had just mentioned before we went live that on Monday, Dylan Raiola announces that he's transferring from Nebraska to Oregon, and on Wednesday, Dante Moore returns to Oregon. So, like, can Dylan Raiola could go somewhere else and start as a quarterback. Can he decommit? Is that a thing? Can he leave now? Once you make that step, can you step back? Or should he just sit behind Moore and I don't know, take the payday and just chill on the bench?
I think it depends. Let me see when the portal closes. I think
if he sits, it's not an issue. Do you know what I mean? Like for him, money wise, but that's a year down when you've been playing football, and your experience is key. Like for him to build that momentum, because someone else is the next person up, right? If someone else obviously takes that limelight, but yeah, I'd be interested to know if he could obviously go elsewhere at this point. But you need to question what's been said, because Oregon are looking to get him in. Do they think that Moore was going to obviously declare? There must have been something that's obviously happened at that moment in time, and any conversation they would have had with him as well would have been Moore is going. Surely, that's all I can imagine here. Otherwise, I can't see any other reason other than there must be he wants the extra money maybe to sit on his ass for a couple of days or a couple of years.
The portal closes in 2 days, so I mean, if he wanted to change his mind, he has 2 days to decide. Although because they played in the playoff, I think he gets a couple extra days. He might have until like the 18th, maybe. I think they get like 5 extra days from when their final game was. So maybe it still is the 16th. Maybe he has a little leeway. But actually, no, he came from Nebraska, so he has no reason to. Never mind. No, he has to decide in 2 days. I guess like take your money and chill out. I guess. But if you have the chance to go be a great starting quarterback at another school and you know that you're starting right away, you could get some NIL money from them too. Like I said, I know that Oregon has a ton of money, but why wouldn't you want to start? Like, this is what I mean when I say I feel like sometimes NIL is ruining it, because if he is choosing to go to Oregon just to sit and be behind Dante Moore for a year just because he's getting X amount of money rather than going to a school, let's just use Florida, and get X amount of money from NIL as well. Maybe it's slightly less. What, $1 million? Oh no, like a little bit less money, and be able to start though. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what a football, you're supposed to want to play, not sit the bench behind an already talented quarterback who like could have gone to the draft this year and chose not to. And you're a talented quarterback as well. Why wouldn't you just go start at a school and, sign a 2.5 million NIL deal instead of 3 million? Like, surprise, millions of dollars are a lot of money. But if you start for this school and you do very well and you are confident in your abilities and your talent as a quarterback, the money is going to come regardless. I think that it would be smarter for him to go to a school where he knew he was going to start. So I agree. I think he definitely just didn't know that Moore was going to stay.
Yeah, seems that way. So just to wrap things up here, let's bring the conversation a little bit closer to home, back across the pond. Well, closer to home for me and Sam, at least. Interesting announcements, at least from an Irish perspective in recent days. We now officially have an Irish kicker at Alabama, one of the most prestigious school programs in America. SEC, obviously the best conference as well. Lorcan Quinn, I believe is his name. He's transferred and committed to Alabama, so shout out to him. And also Paddy McAteer, who's just committed to Indiana. So there's going to be Adam McCann Gibbs, who we had on the podcast. Lorcan and Paddy all playing college. We're going to have at least 3 Irish guys, and there could be more that I don't even know about, but at least 3 Irish guys playing college football next year. There's just no doubt that this sport, college as distinct from the NFL, college football as its own branch of the sport, it's growing in Europe, obviously. And having guys from over here playing it in America is just huge. But we're in 2026 now, which means we are on the verge of a game in Dublin and London. And Lauren, the plan this year, it's hashtag Lauren to London. We're going to get Lauren over to London for the Union Jack Classic, and fingers crossed we can maybe shoot some content, maybe shoot a podcast episode, I don't know, in a studio in London or Wembley, however that might work. And then me and Sam go to a Gator game. That's the plan for 2026. And we shoot some content, maybe do an episode over in Florida as well. I think that'd be sick.
I love that vision
I'm
board.
ready.
Yeah, that's the vision. So the London game is like the Dublin game's in August, and the Union Jack Classic is in September. So hashtag Lauren to London, get her over. We go to the game. We actually have like an in-person podcast, which I think would be a really good dynamic as well. So that's the plan for this year. This season hasn't ended, but we already got to look forward to next season.
Of course.
I'm ready.
All right, guys. On that note, we'll wrap it up. We will have, next time we meet next week, we will have a college football winner. I'm going to pin my colors to the mast and just say Indiana have to finish this season. It's got to be 16-0. It's got to be Mendoza's got to walk out with just the perfect season. #1 draft pick, Heisman, undefeated season, and now a national champion winner. And to be honest, they deserve it. It's just been a magical season for them, and I think they should cap it off with a title.
Bernard, sorry to interrupt and kill your ending.
Go for it.
But there's 2 things. One, the tailgating needs to be set up that we have our own tent, by the way, in Gatorland, for one, right, in the swamp. And secondly, who put the memo about what we had to wear on this podcast today? Because it's a little bit weird.
We're all wearing red.
Because we're all subconsciously rooting for, mine's not subconscious. Yeah. We're all rooting for Indiana.
Yeah, we're all wearing red. Yeah, I just noticed that as well.
I don't want to mess up your ending as well, but I do want to ask everyone's score predictions.
Oh, I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to go 24-20 Indiana.
Okay.
31-27 Indiana.
Ooh. I'm going back and forth between 24-17, or I also have this just like crazy, idea that it's going to be like 27-20.
Okay. In Indiana's favor.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to put this on record. This is now permanently online. Lauren, the die-hard Florida Gator, repping the merch of another school. Just we've got proof of it now. So Lauren, when we come back next season and Florida begin the season 0-3 and you're disappointed about it, we're like, well, Lauren, you did wear Indiana merch before, so.
But they won't be losing to, well, they won't be 0-3. But if they were, one of those teams wouldn't be Indiana. Like I said, this is more so for my boy Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah.
Mendoza
Look, you've lost a bit of street cred. You lost a bit of credibility. Like, it's all good.
It's fine. There's a big gator on my computer right now. I'm in my necklace. I'm always repping.
All right, guys. Thanks very much, and see you next week. Bye.